What up, people? We are breaking down one of my favorite topics, and that's overcoming objections. One of the scariest hurdles for some people in wholesaling real estate is overcoming the objections while they're on the phone. And I got some good news. It's actually not that scary. As long as you can identify when these things are going to come up and how to overcome them, you're going to be completely fine. So by the end of the video today, I'm going to give you guys a framework on how to overcome every objection that you're going to encounter and how to identify when they're going to come up. Let's get into the video. Okay, so for starters, we got to clarify some things. There's a difference between smokescreens and objections. So we got to handle what smokescreens are first. A smokescreen is when a prospect puts something up to hide what is behind that smokescreen. And I got some good news. You could just go right through the smokescreen. I'm going to give you a roadmap on how to do that in a sec. But the thing is, most of these prospects aren't doing this on purpose to be a bad person or to hide something from you. It's just a default that all of us humans do. I guarantee you watching right now, you probably use smokescreens in your everyday life. Let's just say you walk into a shoe store and the salesperson comes up to you. You probably say, "Oh, I'm just looking." Right after they ask you, "Hey, how can I help you?" There's probably something there that they can help with, right? But you have this smoke screen that you put up because it's just your natural default to get away from the salesperson. And you're like, I'm good. I'm just looking. Okay. Now, if that salesperson knew what the heck they were doing, they would be able to overcome that smoke screen and they would be able to help you out. So one of my pastors said something cool the other day. She's like, "You know what I'm doing from here on out? And I'm going to make this a standard in the church. Whenever I walk up to somebody and ask them how they're doing, I'm going to let you guess for a second. What do you think happens? Whenever I walk up to somebody and say, 'Hey, how's it going?' What's the answer? The answer is typically, 'Oh yeah, it's going great. How about you?' Right? And that is a smokescreen that all of us humans do. So this is what my pastor said. My pastor's like, "You know what? Instead of me just asking that once, I'm going to ask twice." And here's what she learned. Once she asked the second time, the person was finally like, "Well, I mean, now that you ask, the house with the kids is going crazy. My job is doing this. This is on fire. That's on." And now all of a sudden you get all these things that you were not ever going to get if you just asked once. So us as human beings, we just simply put up these smoke screens for whatever reason. It doesn't feel natural to us to just go and give a bunch of information to somebody, right? So my pastor's like, "You know what? Let's make a standard. So from here on out, let's really figure out what's going on in people's lives so we can help them out." And it's the same thing that we do with motivated sellers. So let's think about some smoke screens in wholesaling real estate. Really quick before you watch the rest of the video. If you haven't heard already, I'm running a monthly free wholesaling challenge. And this is what it looks like. Week 1, it's a sales training. Week 2 is also a sales training. Week 3, I hop on the phone with sellers, and I call them in real time. Week 4, I actually give you guys motivated seller leads to call on the Zoom. Now, my team has generated thousands of leads, and I provide those leads for you guys to call on the Zoom. And I'm in the side chat giving you guys feedback on what to say next and all that stuff to push it to the next level. So if you want to get in these Zooms, it's absolutely free. Go to wholesalewithmike.com or just go to the link in the description below. Let's get back into the video. So if you've been talking to motivated sellers up to this point in your wholesaling career, you've probably heard this smoke screen before. What is your offer? Tell me, what's your offer? You get on the phone with them, you're like, "Hey, so catch me up to speed. What's going on with the property?" And they're like, "What's your offer?" Just a smoke screen. And here's how you handle it. Rule number 1 of selling, always agree. So there's no need to ever create any sort of friction during a call at any point. There's a point where you can bring people down to reality, but never create friction and never disagree. It just does nothing for the whole entire sale. So you always agree in some form or fashion. So if somebody said, "Hey, what's your offer?" and it was premature for that, I would just say, "Yeah, so we're going to get you an offer here." Agree, right? And then I would move on to the next part of the sale. "Yeah, so I'm going to get you an offer here. Tell me what was going on with the property." And you just move on. So you address it. You don't completely ignore it. You address it by agreeing in some form or fashion. And you move on with an open-ended question. And you pretty much get off that topic. It might come up again and again and again. And if it's repetitive, then that smoke screen might not be a smoke screen. It might actually be an objection. So now let's get into what objections are. Here is what an objection is. An objection is a problem that you need to solve. And if it's not solved, you will not get the deal. And that's what we get paid to do. We get paid to solve problems. So I'm going to tell you a story really quick. There was a deal that was in our pipeline for a good year and a half. My team kept following up. And for some sort of reason, we just weren't able to get the deal through. So I talked to my sales rep and I'm like, hey, bro, so what's going on with this lead? How come we have not got this thing to the finish line? And he's like, man, he just does not want to sell. He says that there's some taxes owed and it just is killing the deal and it's never going to happen. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me hop on the phone with him. So I hop on the phone with him. I have a conversation. I'm like, hey, so, what's preventing you from selling the property? He's like, man, I owe these taxes and it just doesn't make any sense for me to sell the property. So in everybody else's mind, everybody else that was calling him and including my team, everybody was thinking, well, the taxes are probably way too much and, it's not going to be a deal. That wasn't the case. He thought in his mind that he needed to come out of pocket before we closed in order to sell the property. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, we're going to give you $50,000 for the property and the taxes are only $25,000. You're going to get $25,000 at close. The other $25,000, our attorneys will send over to the tax office and they'll pay off your lien. And he's like, wait, what? I don't have to come up with $25,000 in order to sell my house? And I'm like, no. So for a year and a half straight, nobody was able to solve this guy's problem. And once we were able to solve his problem, we did the deal. So an objection is something that you have to solve. If you're getting objections in your calls, that means that you are close to solving a problem. So some action steps in order to overcome these objections, just solve the problem. Figure out what it is that you could do in order to overcome it. For example, let's just say a seller ends up saying, nah, I can't do your offer. Well, in that case, you got to figure out why they can't do the offer. A lot of the times these objections come up after you give the offer and they tell you no. So once they tell you no, you're like, okay, well, tell me, what were you hoping to get? What were you hoping for? And they're like, well, I really need 200 grand. Your offer's over only at 180. Okay, got it. So tell me, with this 200 grand, what is it about the 200 grand specifically? What about that number is, absolutely killing the deal for us not to do it at 180? Well, Mike, the property has a mortgage on it of $190,000. So your offer doesn't even pay off the mortgage. Plus I need some money to move, right? I'm going to need $10,000 to move. And now Mike understands that he has a problem on his hands, which is good, which means that we have a problem to solve. And we get paid to solve problems. So the framework is to get the underlying circumstances and why they are telling you no to what they are telling you no to, and then coming up with a solution to turn that no into a yes. So for this example that I just gave you guys, if he absolutely needed $200,000, we have a couple different options. Maybe we can come up on price, or maybe we can come up with some sort of creative finance solution that solves his problem when nobody else can. So if you are encountering these objections while you're on the call, I got good news. You are probably blasting through these smoke screens and now you got some problems on your hand. You might not be in the position at the moment. Maybe you're brand new. You might not know the creative finance strategies, or you might not know how to solve some of these problems that you're encountering. That's no problem. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to the free Facebook group and connect with the closers that are in Blueprint, because they've seen pretty much all the problems and they can help you out. So if you're ever in a position where you have an objection that you just don't know what to do with, just find somebody that knows what to do and they're going to help you solve that problem. So it's just like, hey, you know what? That is a great question. I'm going to help you figure this out. So let me go circle back to my partner. Let me go circle back to my mentor or whoever it is, and we're going to solve this problem together. You got good news on your hands. You're about to solve a problem and you're going to get a deal. So here's what I need you to go do. Go out, take some action, call these sellers, blast through these smoke screens, overcome these objections. And if at the moment you don't have the ability or you don't have the knowledge to overcome the objections, go find the people that can help you out and squad up so we can all do business together and we can all help out a bunch of people. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.